All right. Hello, everyone. So I had lots of requests about this. I need to do some aligning here on Themis, so I'm going to actually record myself doing this so you can see some of these different alignment steps that go into setting up your alignment file. So anyways, if you go to your, find wherever your alignments control panel is here, which we have in a tab appropriately labeled alignments. Basically, the idea is you have to work kind of from top to bottom here. So I think when you get everything below stigmators here, everything above stigmators, these are like the base alignments, if you will. And then below that, you get into what are called, I think, the applications. So I'm not going to go through all of these. Actually, this particular video, I'm just going to cover the gun, and then I'm going to, potentially do separate videos for the rest of this. Okay, so we're just going to work through the gun alignment here. So, anyways, to start with, let's go ahead and open our column valves. So I have the replica grading in here. I think for doing the gun alignment, you could do this with just vacuum. But you need this for the rest of the alignment steps anyway, so it's best to just have this in here. I actually have on here already in my stage, I have two stored positions. So there's one where there's like a continuous film and one where there's a hole. So basically this is where we are right now. It's just over, continuous film. So anyways, let's go ahead and so now if you open the folder here for gun, basically all of these blue ones are kind of the essential ones. I think if you look at some of these other ones, yeah, so you see, right, like these yellow ones, these are kind of, I think, not necessary. Well, I don't want to say not necessary, but kind of, what's the word? Not essential, if you will. So anyways, all right, so we'll go ahead and we'll run through the gun. Now keep in mind, this is a monochromator with an X-FEG, so depending on your system configuration, you're going to have something different here under your gun alignment, okay? All right, so we'll run through this here. I don't remember exactly how long this takes. I think it's a few minutes. All right, so we got to move our objective, and that's now you don't want to navigate away from this. If you do, it's going to take you out of the alignment mode. So you have to access the other control panels over here. So you can find apertures. Okay, objective out, SA out. We need to put the largest C2 in. Okay, you can see down here right now our C3 lens is off. And I'm pretty sure my mono shift or my intensity knob is actually controlling the monochromator. Yes, so that's what it's doing right now. So anyways, all it wanted us to do was change apertures. The C1 aperture is that's also the largest right now, so there's no slit in. So, all right, so next. Okay, so we want to underfocus this. That's the monochromated beam. And then use the XY knobs to center inside of the aperture rim. Okay, just about there. Okay, and then if it's not centered, press R2, and then we can actually shift the beam around here. Okay, so now we're going to center the C2 aperture. So now we're only controlling, turn this off, we're only controlling the C2 lens with our intensity knob. And it looks well centered, so no issue there. Okay, so again, if it's not centered, right, so you have to find your apertures panel here. You can just, I'll show you this anyway. Let me just mess this up intentionally so you can see. Okay, so now that's not centered here, okay? So you start by center the beam, expand the beam. In this case, with this system, I actually go counterclockwise, right? Because we have the corrector as well. That's another wrinkle in this. So let me click adjust. Again, that's with this C3 lens off. Okay. Okay, it's pretty good. Make one more little adjustment here. Okay, so we're all set there. Okay, so now we have to put in the slits, so find apertures. You can put in any one of these. I'm just going to put in the biggest one. Okay, so now we need to focus the slit using intensity knob, meaning where, okay, just like that. And now we can remove the slit. So the slit is not centered, so we can actually we can click adjust there. If we want to work with that. So again, we're focusing right on the plane of the energy selecting slit by minimizing the wobble here. All right, so we can take out the slit. And next step. All right, center under focus beam. Okay, so it's saying if we don't see the aperture edge, we should already be well centered here. So I'm just going to focus the beam here. Using my intensity knob. Yeah, so that's the mono shift or the mono focus. Okay, get that to a nice sharp point. Okay, and now we have to remember the spot. So we come up here, click spot, click the plus there to mark it, and then we click next. So it's going to run a normalization of the monochromator. Okay, so now we have to use the X multifunction to move the beam back to where it was. Where are you? There we go. Okay. Okay. And then if we need to use the Y, we can also, I mean, the Y didn't really need to be adjusted much. It looks like it's already focused well, so. Okay, all right. So next step. All right. Center and under focus so that it fills the beam. So we should already be pretty close here, but okay, yeah, so we're already good with the mono. centering. And beam's already well centered here. Go ahead and get rid of our plus. Okay. Back to apertures. Put in the slit. Oops. None? What's going on? Uh-oh. What's happening here? Okay, let's try that again. Oh boy. Okay, so it's letting me put in that. Why isn't it letting me put in the 2? So now it's not giving me a reading. Well, I just put it in. What's going on? All right, well, we'll work with S1 here. Again, you could use any of these. It shouldn't matter. I don't know why all of a sudden it's giving me an error here or saying none when I push S2 because I just had it in. All right. Anyways, we'll use the. Now it's not showing this one either. Come on. Don't be difficult. Now it's not showing that. What's going on? Let's see here. It says it's inserted. You can try enabling and re-enabling that. Sometimes that works. All right, so let's see if we can get something here. Hey, there we go. All right. All right, focus with intensity. Okay, looks good. Again, I'm not sure why this is this far off center here, but you can actually move the slit that way. All right, remove slit. Okay, so now we need to minimize the movement of the spot here with our multifunction knobs. And you can see as I adjust it. So this is the gun shift pivot point. So this is basically a fancy way of saying that as the beam is, that we're getting shift purity. Okay, so basically as the beam is shifted, it doesn't tilt, right? That's like the complement to tilt purity, which is when the beam is tilted, it doesn't shift. Okay, so that's what we're doing when we balance the shift pivot points. Just like when we balance the tilt pivot points, we're ensuring that the beam doesn't shift when it's tilted. All right, so that one's okay. And we're going to do the opposite one. There's one for X and one for Y. That looks reasonable right there. Okay. You can change the modulation with your focus ring. So that's like a lot of modulation. And then I've turned it off here. So usually the default's reasonable, but you can adjust that as per your preference. All right. focus intensity and center inside C2 aperture. So if we, okay, so we're not centered here. So we can toggle to beam shift here, center the beam. Okay. Okay. So now we're doing the gun tilt here. So we're going to turn the X multifunction knob clockwise, and we're going to adjust the Y knob to keep the beam centered until we see the edge of the hole here. It'll be pretty obvious when that happens. So, and we may need to toggle to R2 here as well. So we'll see how this works here. So we're going clockwise, then we need to bring it back clockwise with the X. I'm going clockwise with the Y to bring it back to center. So you can see as I'm doing this, the beam is moving slightly to the right. So this is where we may need to toggle. So I'm gonna toggle R2 here, and then we can use that to bring it back to the center. That's the gun tilt X that I'm doing that with now. Okay, so that there you can actually see, I'm gonna bring this back to center here with the, okay, so right there, that's where we've hit the edge, is right there. You can see that, okay? Okay, so then go next. Okay, and now we got to go the other way. So we go counterclockwise. And now we're going counterclockwise with X, and now we use counterclockwise with a Y to bring it back to center. I think this is probably the most time-consuming part of the gun alignment, actually, is doing the tilt here, at least on this particular system. All right, there we go. So now we've hit the aperture rim there, or the hole rim, I should say. Okay, there we go. Next step. So now we're going to do it for the perpendicular direction. Press R1 to restore the beam. Okay, and now we're doing the perpendicular direction. So I'm going clockwise with the X, and I'm going counterclockwise with the Y now. I've given, there we go. Oop, okay. I think we're getting pretty close here. Okay, so right about there. Okay. Next. Okay, so now we're going counterclockwise with the X and clockwise with the Y. Toggle to R2. Yeah, usually we're getting close and we can see the beam start to kind of stretch out a little bit like that. Usually means we're getting close. Oh, there we go. Okay, so there you can see the the edge of that, the accelerator. I believe that's actually what it is right there. You can see actually if I can switch this to, and it's not that obvious there, but you could see a glimpse of it there with the edge of the accelerator. It's kind of raggedy looking. So okay, all right. So we're good there. Okay, press R1. Okay, so under focus and center. Okay, so we're not quite centered here. Okay, looks like our aperture is well centered on the screen, or the beam is otherwise well centered. Okay. All right, that's going to run a normalization. Let's see, I can probably turn that off. Okay, all right. Use multifunction X to find the beam. I think we're pretty good here. Okay, so it looks like we're still well centered here. All right. Onto the gun shift. So this is actually, someone actually contacted me about this. So if you're seeing, if you're seeing your beam deflect way off center when you change spot size, that's usually a very good indication that your gun shift is not aligned properly. Okay, so actually, gonna go through how to do this here. All right, so I'm gonna toggle to R2 here, make sure I'm well centered here first. Okay. Okay, so mono shift is a little bit off again. Okay. So increase the spot size to 9. And so we want to center the beam now. This is using the condenser deflectors, and it's already pretty well centered here, which is good. I think it actually does 2 iterations with this. It does like a low mag and a high mag. So, and we can, if we wanted to focus this a little more, we could. It's pretty close right there. Anyway. Okay. All right, and then now we're doing this at higher mag. Okay. If we wanted to stigmate this, we could. It's not really critical here. At least in my opinion, that we have the condenser stigmation good at this point. Okay, so now it's going to drop the spot size to 3, and now we're going to do the same thing, except we're recentering it with the gun shift. Again, we can stigmate this if we need to. It's pretty close though. Like you can see, it didn't have to move a whole lot. So it's good. As we change spot number, we didn't have a big shift in the beam, which is exactly what you want. Meant our gun shift was not really that badly off kilter. All right, so it's gonna iterate this, or not. All right, I guess the gun shift was good enough there. All right. Okay, so largest C1 and C2, which we do. Okay. I'm gonna start by just aligning the aperture rim there. So you notice it's having us redo the mono centering basically every single time. Center defocused beam. Okay, so it's not giving us a shiftless mono correction. So it's not letting us actually center the mono at this point. Now if we go here and fine tune, we can actually adjust this here. Okay, there we go. Okay, focus intensity and center. Okay, so basically I think it's doing the same thing here. So if we go, yeah, so we can see as we go to center here, we're not quite focused or not quite centered. Okay, so we're good there. Okay, recenter the beam with the multifunction X and Y. Okay, same thing. Center the beam. Okay, now it's gonna run a normalization. I'd like to do a video at some point discussing the normalization process and what exactly that means. Basically, it's a way for the system to get repeatable microscope settings. Okay. In the case of lenses, right, when it's doing normalization with the lens, it's running through a routine to basically try and reduce the hysteresis so that when it goes to a certain like lens current, you're getting the same like focusing of the beam or deflection of the beam, right? So that's what normalization is. I think on the Joel microscopes they call it I think relaxation or something like that, but it's a similar process, I believe, on both microscopes. They just name it something else. All right, so we're done normalizing. Use multifunction. We found the beam here. Okay, so let's see if I think we should still be fairly well centered here. Okay, so we're a little bit off focus. Now we see the beam's very circular, so we don't need to adjust the monostig. I mean, if we could, right, we can toggle here to monostig, right? You can see here if we need to make it round, we can do that, but it was already pretty good. Okay. 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 Under focus intensity, so we should already be pretty well under focused here. Yeah, so a little bit off here. Again, use your multi-functions and then spread it back out. Okay, there we go. All right. So we only have one more essential alignment here, which is spot size dependent gun shift. So that's with unfiltered. So basically with the monochromator not performing any filtering. So this is going to go through each spot number here. Okay. So let's see here. Because we're at spot size 1, this looks kind of wonky. Let's see. We can't really adjust the stigmators right now, so don't worry about that. Yeah, that's still basically okay. Okay. If necessary, toggle to beam shift. Because of how badly out of sorts this is, it's a little hard to accurately center that, but that looks okay right there. All right, focus intensity, center the beam. Okay. Okay, so there's a little bit of astigmatism there, so we'll click R2 there to get access to the condenser stigmators. Okay. So assuming this is spot size 2 and 9, and then it's going to do, I think, some interpolation between them. But we're going to have to go through each spot number here individually, as we're going to see. Okay, so that already looks reasonably well centered, or I said reasonably not needing to be stigmated, I should say. Okay, right there. All right, center beam. Okay, so now we're going to go through every spot number and basically do the same thing. So we're going to, in this case, I'm actually going to do this a little out of order. So I'm stigmating it first. So it will remember these stigmator values. That's the idea. So when you change spot number, it's already kind of quasi dialed in. Okay, so now we'll bring it back to center with, now we're using spot list X and Y. Careful here. So now we want to click L3 to move to the next spot number. Okay, toggle to R2. Toggle to spot list. This is really kind of a convenience thing more than anything. I mean, this is a fairly high mag for this. Yeah, we already did spot 9, so this is already, reasonably centered. So we'll go to spot 8. All right, spot 6 here. You notice it's doing all of these. We've been doing basically this whole alignment with C3 lens off. In fact, I think it's been off the whole time, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so setting up the alignment file, again, it's just working through each of these folders, and it's pretty self-explanatory to follow the instructions. Now, there is also an option here. If you click Auto Help, it'll actually pull up this window over here. It's not actually showing it, I think, because, oh, there we go. Okay, so it actually gives you an explanation about what it's doing, okay? Which can be helpful if you're not, sure entirely. So anyways, I'm just gonna uncheck that. Yeah, and again, we're talking about, fairly small corrections at this point, tens of nanometers here. Okay, we already did spot 3, so you can see that's not really off by much. Okay, and we're gonna do spot 2, which again, I think we also already did. So yeah, it's already pretty close. And then we're gonna do spot 1. Always thought that was kind of, excuse me, odd that they had spot 1 on here, because they always they never recommend actually using spot 1 for anything. But anyways, neither here nor there. So I know sometimes we may not, I don't know if we can actually even get it stigged here. This, yeah, see, that's really far off. I know they claim, yeah, no, we can get it in here. It's a little tricky when it's that off kilter, but yeah, there we go. Yeah, you can see the threefold astigmatism there. Okay, so there we are. Okay, so now if I push L3, it's can't go any lower than 1, right? Well, it could, but there's no spot 0. All right, so that is actually what I'm going to do at this point. Before I click done, I'm going to save my alignment file, okay? So I'm going to Well, do I want to overwrite this one? See, I don't want to spill the beans here, but we're actually going to change our name from Research Service Centers to Nanoscale Research Facility. So I think what I'm going to do is I am going to rewrite this as 200 keV NRF to reflect that. So we'll just call it 200 keV NRF here, because that is going to be our new name. And so this is our new alignment file. So, all right, so click that, click save. There we go. Okay. And then we can click done here. Okay, so gun alignment is done. So now what I'm going to do is the monochromator table. So this is really fairly, this is somewhat optional here. My understanding here with this, I'm not going to do this one, but basically what this does is, as you change the excitation of the monochromator, it has, there's shifting of the beam. So this is kind of more of a convenience thing. So basically, as you change the excitation, it will keep the beam, centered reasonably well. But I mean, since we have, like in the video I did about using the mono, we have opti mono and things like this. So we really don't need to do this, in my opinion, or at least, this is more of a convenience thing. So anyways, the next thing we could go to here is, align LM and then all these other ones. So anyways, but that's the one on doing the gun alignment. So I'm going to go ahead and call this video done. And I think I'll do another one here when I'm doing these additional alignment steps. All right, thanks everyone. Take care.